Hello everyone, hope you are good and be happy always. Once again, welcome to Shashi's Academy, and today we will discuss perfect completion. Before that, we need to discuss what is market. But first of all, take the screenshot of this video. Here it is, and now let's start with the topic. What's a market? We normally go to markets, weekly markets, maybe some shopping mall, maybe some online shopping also, maybe anywhere like the vegetables market or markets of just like cattle as well. But what is market in economics? In economics, market is something different. Like we can see here with the definition of market here, market is a mechanism, or we can say an arrangement that facilitates sale and purchase of goods. That means in economics, market is not a definite geographical area or a place or a shopping mall. It is just a mechanism or an arrangement where sale and purchase of goods take place. Maybe through a telephonic conversation, maybe through email, maybe through online mode. So, market is just an arrangement. Wherever sale and purchase of goods is taking place, that is a market. If I order something on my phone from a bakery, just like cakes and pastries and biscuits and other items, patties and all, that is my market. Okay, that is market. If I place an order to have order of some clothes, that means that is the market. So, in the same manner, whenever any sale and purchase of goods is taking place through any of these modes, or visibly also in some shopping mall, that is a market. Okay, it's not a geographical area, definite geographical area, it is anywhere. Okay, now size of market. What is the criteria for determining the size of market? That is volume of sale and purchase of goods. If the volume of sale and purchase of goods is very large, that means market is big. Okay, sizes of the market is very big. Or if the sale and purchase, the volume is small, that means the size of the market is very small. So here the volume decides the size of the market. Say for example, if I am demanding 1,000 pieces of footballs for some sports facility, so that is a big market. But if I say I am just demanding 2 balls for my kids, that means that is a small market for that commodity, right? Then forms of market. What are different forms of market? That is decided by 2 criteria. That is, number 1 is degree of competition and number 2 is number of firms operating in that particular market. Take for example, if there is fierce competition, if there is cutthroat competition among the firms and very large number of firms are operating in that particular market, that will be deciding factor for per type of market. And we will see different types of market. So number 1 is degree of competition. If the competition is very high, the market may be different. If the competition is very low, then the market may be different. And similarly, we can see the number of firms. If number of firms operating in particular business are very large in number, then market will be different. And if there are small number of firms operating in market, that will be small. That means the market will be different. So depending on this criteria, 2 criteria, there are different forms of market. Let's see markets. What are different types of market? Number 1 is perfect competition. 2 is monopolistic, 3rd is oligopoly, duopoly and monopoly. See, perfect competition. Perfect competition, we will discuss it in detail also, is a type of market where there are large number of buyers and sellers. They are selling homogeneous commodity. Homogeneous means similar type of commodity. Maybe size, text, color, taste, they are similar. Okay, selling homogeneous commodity and they are selling that commodity at a uniform price. That means they are not the price makers, they are price takers. That means price is decided by the market forces of demand and supply. So here there are large number of buyers and sellers. We were discussing our number of firms. So here there are large number of buyers and sellers. Large number of firms are operating and there is fierce competition amongst them, and that market is your perfect competition, right? Second one, monopolistic. Here the number of firms is somewhat lesser than perfect competition over here. Like we can see the markets operating around our vicinity. That is just like in bakery business, there are large number of firms operating there. And one of the characteristic feature of the monopolistic market is price differentiation and product differentiation, because they sell their product or they make the product in the form and manner which is different. That may be, their taste may be different, their packaging may be different, their texture may be different, their size may be different, and due to that differentiation, that is product differentiation, they charge different prices. That means here product is not homogeneous and price is also not uniform. That means no homogeneous product and no uniform price. Okay, Third one is oligopoly. Oligo in this Greek is a Greek term, and that means few. That means there are few sellers. That means there are few firms operating in any particular market. Just like you see in automobile sector there are few sellers, steel sector in India there are few sellers, in every nation. See how many firms will operate in steel industry, because that's an industry that needs a lot of money, hell lot of money to come into that business, because we can't establish steel industry with very small amount of money. So it needs a large amount of investment. That means very few people will be going in for steel business. And here cement, just like here we have cement and airlines also. There are the industries which need heavy investment, and that's why very few firms operate in that industry, and that's why it's known as oligopoly. That means few sellers are there, right? Then duopoly. See, duopoly is the special case, a specified case of oligopoly only. Here there are two sellers, only two. Why? Because duo means two. Okay, so only two sellers are operating, just like Pepsi and Coca-Cola are the market leaders in beverage industry, soft drinks industry. Why? Because they command highest market share in this soft drinks category. Then Intel and AMD, they are the two major players in the market of computer desktop. So they operate in a duopoly market. That means they too are very special, and they are very prominent sellers in this sector. Then monopoly. Monopoly means one seller. Why? Because mono means one and poly means seller. So monopoly means one seller, just like IRCTC in India, Indian Railways, they have monopoly in your trains. Okay, whatever trains or whatever railways are operating in India, they are under the control of IRCTC, and it commands 100% market of the railways. So here one seller, that means, and here I have framed a code for you people, that is PMODM. PMO. That is the first initials, P for perfect competition, M for monopolistic, O for oligopoly, D for duopoly, M for monopoly. What you can see here, the competition is descending and the number of firms is also in descending order. Highest number of firms and highest amount of competition, then lesser amount of competition, lesser number of firms, then again lesser than this. This duopoly has lesser firms than oligopoly, and monopoly has only one seller. That means the least number of sellers, only one sellers here. So this is a descending order of competition and descending order of number of firms. Here there are very large firms, and here there are only one firm, right? So PMO DM, that means Prime Minister Office, you might have heard, and DM District Magistrate. This code is very easy to remember. Next, come to perfect competition. What is perfect competition? I have divided this definition into 4 parts because it was long and it's very important also to remember. Because if you will be writing half of its definition, that will not serve you any purpose and that will not give you any good marks, fetch you good marks. So here, perfect competition, what is that? Is a market where there are large number of buyers and sellers. We have already understood that there are large number of buyers and sellers, and none of the buyers and sellers are powerful enough to affect the price of the commodity or the market demand and supply of the commodity. They can't affect. Buyers cannot affect the demand of the commodity, whatever is there in the market, and sellers too cannot affect the supply because there are very large number of sellers in the market. They cannot say, I'm not selling this commodity to you, because if that seller is not selling to us, we can just buy it from some other seller. Similarly, a buyer cannot say, I'm not purchasing this commodity from you. If I am a seller, if seller refuses to purchase that commodity from me, then I can say, go. Because I have large number of sellers, buyers for me, and I can sell my commodity to them, right? Then, homogeneous product is sold. I have previously explained the product which is sold in perfect competition is perfectly homogeneous. That means it is same in taste, color, size, everything is same. The taste is same. Just like if any biscuit is there, the taste of biscuit is same for every seller. Then size is same. The price is also same. The homogeneous commodity. And price is determined by market forces of demand and supply. So market forces of demand and supply decide what the prices would be. If demand is very high and the supply is also okay, then price will be high. If demand is very low and supply is good, the price will be low. Okay, so here what is happening? Demand forces of demand and supply will determine your price. Just like we can see, This is demand curve, this is supply curve. Okay, the demand supply curve. Here where they intersect, that will be your price. Okay, so here the quantity has been decided and this the price has been decided. So here price has been decided owing to the market forces, demand and supply, and that price is decided by market forces. It has to be taken by your seller and the buyer as well. An individual buyer or seller has no control over price. I have already told that no seller and no buyer can affect the price of the commodity. Then come to the features or assumptions. Assumptions are the conditions given, then only the your law or the market form will operate. So the features of perfectly competitive market and the assumptions on the basis of which perfect competition market will operate are here. Large number of buyers and sellers, we already know that. Homogeneous product, done. Then perfect knowledge. What is perfect knowledge over here? That means perfect knowledge of market conditions, of demand and supply and the price as well. To the buyer, basically. A buyer in a perfectly competitive market is fully aware of the price, of the demand and supply conditions in the market, and none of the sellers can dupe that or fool that consumer, and he knows fully well that where the product is available and what kind of product is available in the market. So no one can fool a consumer over here. He is fully aware of the market conditions. Then freedom of entry and exit. Any person who wants to do business in any particular market category, and if they have finance to operate in the market, establish their industry, they can enter that industry. Okay, freedom of entry and exit is there, and if any firm is incurring losses, they can leave that firm. But it all happens in long run. In short run, people, if they are incurring losses, they will remain in that industry or in that market unless and until they can't bear the losses in the long run, maybe 2 to 3 years, and after that they can leave the industry depending upon their loss conditions. Okay, independent decision making. Here there are no groupism. See, sellers do not form groups and cartels. Cartels are the group that join together, they combine together, and they just set one price against the consumer, and here the consumer is at loss because they won't be selling at the price lower than what is decided by the cartel. So groupism happens there, and that is against consumers. So many of the countries avoid or prohibit the cartels, but in perfect competition no cartel formation is there, and sellers take their independent decisions of selling their particular commodities, but they are not the price makers. Okay, they just take the price. Perfect mobility. That means the factors of production are perfectly mobile. Maybe labor. If a labor from any nation or any market or any area, any geographic region wants to go to any other geographical area, they are free to move. That means perfect mobility of factors of production is there, and they can move anywhere, and that's why perfect competition operates. No extra transport cost. There is no extra transport cost of transporting your goods and services of any labor or factors of production, and that's why uniform price can be permitted in the markets of perfect competition. Okay, then what is the conclusion with this? See, first of all, I would like to say one thing over here, that perfectly competitive markets are nowhere to be seen in the world. They are somewhat the bookish markets or the markets which are for the sake of study or only. Okay, so these markets do not operate in real world because there is a lot of product differentiation. In monopolistic competition, there are product differentiation, monopolistic operates. All these markets can be seen in real world, but perfect competition is not the market to be seen in the real world. So this is for the sake of studies only. Now conclusions. A firm under perfect competition is price taker and not price maker. We have already discussed. Price is decided by the market forces, and so none of the buyers and sellers can decide the price, and that's why the firms are only the price takers and they cannot decide price. That's why they are not the price makers. Then demand curve is perfectly elastic as firm has no control over price. Why? Because price is given to the firm, and at that price, which is decided by market forces, they can sell any amount of their produce in the market. Just like you'll see here, OX curve and OY curve is given here. I can draw it for you people once again. Here, draw a large L. I always say draw an L. Okay, OX axis and OY axis. The vertical axis is OY and horizontal one is OX. And what you have to do here, you just have to decide a price for yourself and just draw a line horizontal to x-axis. This is not exactly horizontal, I can say. This is somewhat moving away. So this is the horizontal line and this is your demand curve. So here you can sell this amount of commodity, maybe your 10 units, maybe 20 units of any commodity, maybe 30, maybe 40, any amount of a commodity can be sold at this price, because firms are just the price takers and they cannot decide their price. Clear? Then the third one of the conclusions is, under perfect competition, firms earn only normal profits in the long run. Why? Because there is the clause of free entry and exit. The firms in the long run, see, in the short run, firms can bear losses also, but in long run they won't be bearing losses and they will exit the industry or the market they are operating in. Similarly, if the firms are having abnormal profits in any market, say for example, I have a sugar mill or I have a bakery, and motivated by my profits, and if I am earning, say if I am earning very huge profits and that is very lucrative business for me, and there are very few sellers or few bakery operators in the market, so other people, maybe my friends, maybe people around me will be motivated by the fact that I am earning very large amount of profits in bakery firm, so they will also be motivated to establish their own bakeries and they will come into that market and they will operate with me and they will share my market also, they will share my sales, they will share my profits also. So there are large number of firms. First only 2-3 firms were there, 2 or 3 were there including me, and now there are 10 to 20. What will happen? The market is same. Now the profit which was available to 3 of us will be divided among so many people. So what will happen? We will have just normal profits in the long run, and that's why the firms who are incurring losses in long run, they will leave the industry or the market, and the firms who are incurring profits in the long run, they will attract more operators or more producers in the market, and they will have only normal profits in the long run. So that is the case over here. So I hope you have understood the topic, and if you have any problem, you can just post in comments box. We will be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless you.